Elias Vance, architect of Seattle's digital skyline, was besieged. His empire faced a hostile takeover. Cameras flashed, voices clamored. In his world of noise and power, what could cut through? Not a market crash, nor a rival's gambit. It was a sound, almost a whisper, a fragile melody from a forgotten corner, potent enough to shatter his universe and force a confrontation with a connection long avoided. Seattle's Museum of Pop Culture pulsed with frantic energy. Neon reflected off champagne flutes and tech. This gala was a battlefield. Elias felt trapped. His PR chief, Miss Sterling, navigated him through reporters, but his gaze drifted. Nearby, 12-year-old Leo Vance, overwhelmed by the crushing sounds, found solace in his tablet, fingers coaxing hesitant electronic beats. Maya Rodriguez at the soundboard saw the boy, his expensive suit, lost eyes. Instead of calling security, she listened. Recognizing a pattern, she subtly adjusted faders. A gentle echo, a soft reverb, and Leo's beat became music. A fleeting, haunting melody cut the din. Leo looked up, startled, meeting Maya's reassuring glance. Across the room, Elias Vance froze. Everything faded. He heard his son. The next morning, a black car delivered Maya Rodriguez to Vance Tower. It pierced the Seattle sky, a monument to Elias's ambition. Maya entered a lobby of cold marble. Then an elevator whisked her to an office like a command center, panoramic views reducing Seattle to a map of Elias's domain. He wasn't alone. Miss Sterling stood beside his vast desk, a folder in hand, her expression impenetrable. Miss Sterling was crisp, efficient. "Ms. Rodriguez," she began, "Mr. Vance appreciates your discretion last night. He understands situations can be misinterpreted and values professionalism." She gestured to the folder. "To that end, we've prepared a gesture of appreciation." It was a transaction, not a conversation. The unspoken message, genuine human connection, especially involving Leo, was a liability to be managed. She slid the folder across the desk. Inside, an NDA and a check sizable enough to erase Maya's debts and secure EchoLoft's future. Also, a vague offer of a consultancy role within Vance Philanthropies, a quiet position, far from inconvenient truths. "Sign this," Sterling said, implying it was the only option, "and we can all move forward. Mr. Vance is busy. This incident, he'd prefer to put it behind him." The implication, take the money, disappear. Forget the boy, the music. Maya looked from the papers to Sterling, then to Elias, who observed her silently, as if she were a complex algorithm. The money was a lifeline for her, the kids, Ben, EchoLoft, but she remembered Leo's wondering eyes, the pure sound he'd created, a spark of something real. She thought of other children, their melodies struggling to be heard. Quiet strength settled within her. "I understand," Maya said calmly. "I understand this is how you solve problems." She gently pushed the folder back. The check lay there, a temptation rejected. Sterling's eyebrow arched. Elias straightened slightly, a flicker of surprise or annoyance crossing his face. This wasn't the anticipated outcome. "So, you're refusing Mr. Vance's generosity." Sterling's voice had an edge. Maya turned her full attention to Elias, speaking directly. "Mr. Vance, your son doesn't need experiences silenced with money. He doesn't need another specialist who sees him as a diagnosis." Her gaze was steady. "He needs to be heard, truly heard." Elias remained silent, eyes fixed on hers. "I didn't come for your money," Maya continued. "I came because you summoned me. Now I'm inviting you. Come to EchoLoft. Come and listen, not as a billionaire or a donor. Just listen." The invitation hung in the air, a simple challenge his world couldn't easily compute. Days later, Elias's driver navigated graffiti-lined streets to a neighborhood far from tech campuses. The car seemed alien before a battered warehouse, EchoLoft, its walls vibrant with murals. Elias hesitated. Miss Sterling was absent. He'd come alone. The scent of old industry and spray paint was a world away from his filtered air. Pushing open the door, a harmonious blend of electronic beats, guitar chords, laughter, and humming computers washed over him. The vast space was a cavern of creativity. Wires snaked across the floor. Kids used mismatched equipment, patched together laptops, keyboards with missing keys. One group built a synthesizer from discarded appliances. By corporate standards, it was chaos. Yet, an undeniable pulse of ingenuity and passion thrummed. He saw a young girl with a modified gaming glove, conjuring rhythms. Another group watched a 3D printer create a custom component. No awards, no mission statements etched in glass. Just raw creative energy. Kids making something from almost nothing, faces alight with discovery. This wasn't about profit. It was about expression, finding a voice. Ben Carter, Maya's partner, approached with a warm smile. "Mr. Vance? Welcome." No awe, just friendliness that surprised Elias. "Maya said you might stop by." Ben gestured around. "It's not much, but it's home. We believe everyone has a rhythm. Sometimes they just need the right tools or quiet to find it." His simple words challenged Elias's metrics-driven worldview. Then Elias saw Leo, not isolated, but leaning towards another child, both focused on a laptop. Leo pointed, typed. The girl nodded. A small, almost imperceptible smile touched Leo's lips as a new musical phrase filled their corner. Engaged, collaborating, happy. The sight struck Elias with unexpected force, deeper than any market fluctuation. Elias stood amidst EchoLoft's vibrant disarray, a billionaire adrift. The walls around his understanding of his son, of success, of value, showed hairline cracks. This place, with its salvaged tech and unpolished enthusiasm, had unlocked something in Leo that expensive specialists hadn't. He didn't understand it yet, but for the first time in ages, Elias Vance felt a profound, unsettling curiosity. He had come to listen, and what he was hearing was a symphony more complex, more important, than any he'd imagined. Elias left EchoLoft with a disquiet. The vibrant chaos, Leo's engagement, Maya's confidence, it challenged his certainties. He'd felt a flicker of hope, a possibility for connecting with his son differently. But back in Vance Tower, corporate survival ground on MS, Sterling hadn't been idle. She'd run a background check on Maya Rodriguez. To Sterling, Maya was an unvetted anomaly in a high-stakes game. She found something. She presented her findings to Elias in a slim folder. Maya Rodriguez, Sterling announced, isn't quite the community saint she appears. Inside were documents detailing a juvenile record, arrest for unauthorized access to a computer system, a major record label servers, years ago when Maya was a teen. A youthful indiscretion, perhaps, but to Sterling, a black mark. A hacker, Elias, Sterling stated flatly. She has a record. The words hit Elias. Hacker. The hope he'd nurtured curdled into cynicism. Had he been naive? Was Maya's sincerity a facade? EchoLoft a ploy? Leo's smile now seemed tainted. His mind raced, suspicion coiling. What the cold report didn't detail was the context. Maya, a passionate music student, discovered the label exploiting young artists. Her unauthorized access wasn't for gain or malice. It was a clumsy attempt to gather proof, expose injustice. A rash act of someone who cared too much, believing in fairness. A mistake, a harsh lesson. But it also forged her determination to create EchoLoft, a haven free from exploitation. This crucial nuance was lost in the legal document. This is a liability, Elias, MS, Sterling pressed. If this gets out with the takeover bid, our opponents will have a field day. They'll paint you as reckless. She paused. But it could also be an asset. We know something she doesn't want public. Leverage. We can ensure her silence, cooperation, or discredit her. The unspoken offer, destroy or control. Elias looked at the folder, then at the city, now a gilded cage. Impossible choices. Maya's past was quickly overshadowed. The hostile takeover bid against Vance Corporation exploded into open warfare, fought across headlines. Rivals launched a ruthless campaign, targeting the Elias Vance Foundation, Elias's charity in his late wife's name. Accusations circulated. The foundation attacks shelter. Funds mismanaged or used to bolster Vance Corp stock. The narrative painted Elias as a hypocrite, exploiting his wife's memory. The timing was impeccable, designed for maximum damage. The accusations caught regulatory attention. The SEC, monitoring stock movements, announced a formal inquiry into the foundation's finances and potential market manipulation. A devastating blow to Elias's image and a sacred legacy. His empire felt like a tightening vice. Then came an SEC directive. Citing impartiality during scrutiny, they issued a temporary order. Significant restrictions on the foundation's fund dispersal without oversight. More pointedly, they mandated a temporary, independent oversight board for the foundation, external auditors and legal experts to approve new expenditures until the inquiry resolved. Elias, accustomed to absolute control, was entangled in legal constraints, his philanthropic arm tethered. A prisoner in his gilded tower. Pressure was immense. Days became a blur of crisis meetings. Sleep offered no respite. The weight of his empire, once power, now an anchor. He felt events spiraling beyond his command. During one bleak session, Ms. Sterling entered. "One more thing, Elias," she said, placing a paper on the table. EchoLoft. It was a final eviction notice. EchoLoft was days from losing its lease, funding dry. Their emergency funding application from the foundation, Sterling added, a touch of grim satisfaction, was submitted before the SEC order. But now, with oversight and scrutiny, any grant, especially to an organization linked to someone with a questionable background, highly unlikely to be approved quickly, if at all. Elias stared at the notice, then at his own troubles. The irony was savage. Just as hope for Leo bloomed at EchoLoft, his embattled empire threatened to crush it. Helping EchoLoft now, even personally, would be a PR disaster, fodder for enemies. Maya, Leo, EchoLoft, caught in the crossfire. Elias was cornered between corporate survival and a nascent personal yearning. The eviction notice arrived at EchoLoft on a gray, drizzly afternoon. Official, uncompromising. The new corporate landlord wanted them out in 72 hours. The vibrant murals looked like defiant last stands. Inside, the creative hum faltered, replaced by stunned, anxious silence. Ben Carter read the notice, face paling. "This is it, Maya. 3 days. What do we do?" He ran a hand through his hair. "We have to call Vance. He came here, saw Leo. Surely, even with his troubles, he wouldn't let this happen." Ben was a pragmatist. Appealing to a billionaire's conscience or self-interest was a valid option. But Maya shook her head, calm but unyielding. She looked at the worried children, their sanctuary. "No, Ben, we're not calling him. Not like this." She knew Elias was fighting his own battles. To go now felt like exploiting a vulnerability. What these kids could do. A long shot, but their gamble on their terms. Later that evening, Maya sat alone. She pulled out a worn photograph. A younger Maya beside Elias Vance, Elias's late wife. Eliana, an independent musician and quiet philanthropist, had given a workshop Maya attended, igniting her belief in music and community. Eliana spoke of artistic integrity, lifting others, packed with skeptical journalists and anxious investors. Elias stood to defend his empire. The air crackled with tension. He projected calm control, addressing allegations, outlining strategy. But beneath it, he walked a tightrope. A few blocks away, EchoLoft's final showcase was underway. A vibrant, defiant celebration. The warehouse pulsed with music, laughter. Earnest children presenting projects. Locals, artists, onlookers mingled. Maya and Ben moved through, smiles strained, determination unwavering. In a corner, Leo Vance watched his father on a small TV, looking distant, weary. As Elias spoke of legacy, future, values, something resonated with Leo. He sensed the unspoken strain, the sadness beneath his father's stoic exterior. An audacious idea formed. to connect, cut through corporate speak. He looked at EchoLoft's tech, powerful audio software, custom interfaces. This place had given him a voice. Now it could help him reach his father. Leo worked with intense focus. He found old audio files. His mother, Eliana, her voice warm, melodic, reading stories, humming, laughter, treasures Elias thought lost. He wove these with his own complex, melancholic electronic music. Using text-to-speech software Maya helped him master, he typed a short, simple message choosing a synthesized voice. His fingers found an obscure, unsecured auxiliary audio channel for the hotel's ballroom feed, a digital backdoor, 1,000,000-to-1 shot. At the press conference, Elias was mid-sentence when a new sound permeated the audio system. A woman's voice, warm, familiar, humming a lullaby, confused murmurs. Technicians checked equipment. Ms. Sterling's face tightened. Elias stopped. His blood ran cold. He knew that voice. Eliana. Then, her voice, clear. Where the heart finds its echo, the humming returned, interwoven with Leo's haunting electronic melody. The room was utterly silent, save for the sound. Reporters lowered cameras. Elias stood rooted, composure shattering. Tears welled. This wasn't just his wife's voice. It was a message from a past he'd compartmentalized. A love mourned, now starkly public. The music swelled, filled with a child's yearning, then faded. A new voice emerged, clear, synthesized, direct. "Dad," it said. "Dad, listen to me." Elias's breath hitched. He saw only his son, heard only that plea. Ms. Sterling looked apoplectic, frantically signaling to cut the feed, but technicians seemed frozen. At EchoLoft, Maya and Ben watched the live feed. Hearts and throats, a mixture of pride, terror, and awe. Leo sat quietly, task complete, gaze fixed on his father's image. The press conference, utterly derailed, became intensely personal. Elias Vance, tech titan, was exposed, his guarded heart laid bare. "Dad, listen to me," echoed in the ballroom's profound silence. Elias Vance stood motionless, the CEO's armor shattered, revealing the vulnerable man. Tears streamed freely, broadcast to the world. Miss Sterling desperately signaled for damage control. Too late. The raw humanity captivated everyone. A reckoning. Slowly, Elias raised a trembling hand. He took a shuddering breath. His voice, when he spoke, was raw, stripped of authority, yet resonant. "For years," he began, "I've prided myself on building things, an empire. I told myself it was for family, legacy." He paused. "But it seems I forgot how to build what truly matters. I forgot how to listen, to my son, perhaps to myself." "No spin, just painful admission. My son, Leo." Elias continued, "A woman who showed more genuine connection in a moment than I have in years." He looked into the main camera. Effective immediately, the Eliana Vance Foundation will provide full, unconditional, long-term funding for EchoLoft, ensuring its future, enabling its expansion. Ms. Maya Rodriguez will have complete, uncompromised autonomy. "No interference. No strings punto." A gasp went through the room. Elias turned to the SEC investigation. He picked up papers, documents mandating the independent oversight board for his foundation. "Regarding the inquiry," he said, voice firm, "I welcome it. Transparency is paramount." He held up the documents. "This morning, I was presented with these requirements for oversight. I will sign them now willingly." Cameras flashing, Elias sat, took a pen, and with a steady hand, signed, ceding a measure of control over his wife's legacy. Ms. Sterling looked faint. This act, under public scrutiny and regulatory pressure, could seem a calculated move. Yet, as Elias Vance signed, something shifted. That signature, born of crisis, felt less surrender, more liberation. Acknowledgement that true stewardship wasn't iron control, but trust, shared purpose, letting go. Perhaps his first truly free act in years. a step from his gilded cage. The moment the signature was complete, the ballroom erupted. Reporters shouted, flashes strobed. MS. Sterling stood frozen, plans in ruins. At EchoLoft, Maya and Ben watched, tears of disbelief, relief, joy. The world watched a billionaire break down, confess, and choose a different path. The sound of truth, amplified by a child's love, a mother's memory, was heard. Nothing for Elias or those he touched would be the same. Elias Vance's public confession echoed for weeks. Shock gave way to cautious curiosity. For Elias, the path forward was genuine reconstruction, public and private. The first sign, EchoLoft's eviction notice rescinded, replaced by blueprints and bulldozers for renewal. EchoLoft's transformation was swift, inspiring. Backed by the Elias Vance Foundation, under new oversight and community support, the dilapidated space blossomed. Walls came down, new rooms went up, recording studio, workshop, library, stage. Murals preserved, incorporated into modern, soulful design. Kids with tools worthy of their talents explored new possibilities. A resurrection. Elias became a regular, if initially awkward, fixture. No entourage, no directives. He came quietly, watched, listened, observed Leo, now confident, expressive, collaborating, teaching. Sometimes Elias tentatively joined workshops, fumbling with equipment, Leo patiently guiding. He was learning connection, his son's fluent language, learning to be a father. One afternoon, Maya found Elias staring at Eliana's photo on an inspiration board. She would have loved this, Elias said softly. Maya nodded. She's why it exists. This led to a longer conversation. Maya told him the full story of her juvenile record, idealistic anger, naive attempt at justice, regret, lessons learned. Elias listened without judgment, seeing not a hacker, but a woman of fierce conviction, like Eliana. People make mistakes, Maya, he said. It's what we build from them that defines us. Mutual respect formed. Days later, Elias arrived with a heavy flight case, Eliana's vintage audio mixer. This was hers, he told Maya, voice thick with emotion. One of her first. She composed so much early music on it. I think she'd want it here, making new music. Maya, speechless, touched the worn faders. More than a gift, an heirloom, a symbol of trust, a link to their shared inspiration. Elias truly understood EchoLoft's core values. The most profound transformation was Leo. EchoLoft's acceptance and freedom unlocked him. One evening, as Elias helped him pack, Leo turned, serious but calm. He took a breath, then spoke with his own voice. I love you, Dad. Simple, direct, powerful. Elias knelt, pulling his son into a tight embrace, grief and regret yielding to pure joy. The walls had come down, silence broken. A new, hopeful symphony begun. 1 year later, ripples from that moment of truth spread. EchoLoft, once struggling, was a nationally recognized model for creative empowerment. Its approach replicated, a network where young voices found their rhythm. Maya and Ben's philosophy was a beacon. Leo Vance, no longer a quiet boy, stood confidently on stage, a keynote speaker at a youth innovation summit. He spoke with easy eloquence, sometimes his voice, sometimes integrating music and visuals. He shared his story, inviting others to connect and create. An advocate for giving youth space and tools to be heard. Elias Vance watched from the audience. At peace, a father filled with quiet pride. His empire thrived, guided by a new compass of social responsibility. The Elias Vance Foundation, under its transparent board, championed projects fostering connection. Elias's greatest transformation was personal. He'd learned to listen. Leo, Maya, EchoLoft's kids, he said, gave him a gift greater than he could repay. They taught him to truly listen. Maya Rodriguez, a respected leader in educational innovation, guided EchoLoft's growth, core values intact. She and Elias, sometimes side by side at meetings, were partners in a shared journey. a quiet friendship built on respect and shared memory. Eliana's vintage mixer held a place of honor, a reminder of art's power to connect and heal. And so, the story of a billionaire, a sound technician, and a boy who found his voice became an echo, a reminder. In a world saturated with noise, profound revolutions begin with truly listening. Listening to a child's unspoken needs, a stranger's quiet integrity, one's own heart. In these spaces of genuine hearing, we discover shared humanity, bridge divides, learn that the greatest innovations are not always technological, but transformatively human. The most important sound is the one we finally allow ourselves to hear.